Welcome back to Sophie and Jumong Part 19. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. After the tense silence in the hallway, Jumong stood still for a heartbeat, Sophie at his side, her calm presence grounding the heavy air. Without saying much, he gently gestured for her to follow him into his study, closing the door behind them. In the quiet of the wood-paneled room, Sophie leaned lightly against the edge of his desk while Jumong paced once, fingers tapping at his phone screen. She wants to brief me tonight about a board file, the quarterly contract audit. He said it more to himself than to her. Sophie tilted her head, watching him quietly. Do you want to discuss it tonight? Her voice was soft, without pushing. Jumong's eyes found hers. He gave a small, tired shake of his head, a faint smile easing the tension in his shoulders. No, not here, not tonight. This house is not for surprise legal files and uninvited meetings. He exhaled, slipping his phone into his pocket. With that, he stepped back out into the hallway where Heron and Heijin were still standing, pretending to admire the hallway art, but stealing glances toward the study door. Jumong stopped in front of them, his expression composed, but his voice leaving no space for misunderstanding. Heron, I appreciate your effort with the audit, but I won't discuss it tonight. My secretary will call you tomorrow morning to confirm an appointment at the office. Please come then, properly scheduled. He glanced briefly at Heijin, his tone respectful but steady. And next time, both of you should call before coming here unannounced. This house is private. I trust you understand. Heron opened her mouth as if to argue, but Jumong's gentle firmness silenced the thought before it formed. She closed it again, lowering her gaze with polite reluctance. Heijin gave a small nod, the edge of a knowing smile playing at her lips. Of course, Appa. We'll wait for the secretary's call. Satisfied, Jumong offered a small bow of respect, then turned back towards Sophie, who stood a few steps behind, watching with quiet pride. Shall we? He murmured to her. She slipped her hand into his, no words needed. Sophie stood by the tall wardrobe, the soft hush of the closing door behind her as Jumong stepped back into the bedroom. She tugged at the collar of his crisp white shirt, the same one she'd borrowed the night before, its hem brushing high against her bare thighs. She caught his reflection in the mirrored closet door, arms crossed, eyebrows lifted just slightly, that half-amused, half-mischievous spark dancing behind the composed calm he always carried in front of everyone else. You can't wear that, he said plainly, though his tone held no real complaint. Sophie turned, arms folded loosely under the oversized cuffs, feigning innocence. Why? It's comfortable, and it smells like you. He stepped closer, crowding the few inches she had left against the wardrobe. He planted a hand on the wood just beside her face, leaning in enough that she felt his quiet laughter ghost warm against her cheek. That's the problem. My body is protesting how comfortable you look right now. His voice dropped lower as his other hand traced the crisp cotton near her collarbone. Sophie's shy laugh broke between them, her fingers lightly catching his wrist as if to steady herself. For a heartbeat, the room hummed softly around them. His breath, her smile, the familiar hush that seemed to follow them since the night before. He bent, brushing a warm kiss just beneath her ear. She whispered something that made him laugh. And he would have stayed there longer, would have pinned her giggles to the wardrobe door with nothing but his mouth and the weight of his love for her. But a muted vibration thrummed at his wrist. One quick pulse, then two. The signal Mira had designed for him alone. Immediate priority. He paused, breath still shallow, forehead pressed briefly to Sophie's temple as he exhaled a reluctant chuckle. Don't move, he murmured, pulling back just enough to see the teasing protest in her eyes. He kissed the corner of her mouth, a promise half kept, then turned sharply toward the glass balcony doors. Outside, the dusk air bit cool against the flush of his skin. He lifted his wrist, the smart dial glowing faint green. Mira, urgent. Interception confirmed. Madam Lee has bribed 3 media houses. Target, Sophie. Namibian University scandal fabricated. 1 hack neutralized. 2 remaining. She wants it out by dawn. His jaw clenched. Beyond the balcony rail, the city lights flickered on like 1,000 careless rumors waiting to spread. Inside, Sophie's soft humming drifted out, the sound of her pulling her jeans over bare legs and fixing her hair in the mirror. Innocent. Unknowing. He tapped the screen once. Acknowledged. Full lockdown. Keep me updated. Then he dropped his hand, turned back inside, eyes already calm again, but behind them, the cold resolve of a man ready to silence every lie before it found her. By the time the sun dipped low behind the hills, Sophie and Jumong's car rolled smoothly up the stone drive of Gina's new villa, its fresh walls glowing gold in the dusk, lanterns flickering gently at the steps as if to greet them first. Jumong parked, then stepped out to open Sophie's door, his hand steady on hers as she climbed out, smoothing her hair with shy fingers. Inside her chest, her heart fluttered faster than she cared to admit. Not because the villa was grand, but because tonight she would stand before the people who had raised the girl she called a friend. Inside, the air smelled of new furniture and warmth. The moving crew's quiet chatter blended with laughter drifting from the living room where Gina's mother fussed over cushions, making sure everything looked perfect before guests stepped inside. When she saw Sophie standing shyly near the doorway beside Jumong, Gina's mother didn't hesitate. She crossed the tiled floor in soft, quick steps, hands opening wide even before her mouth did. "You must be Sophie! Ah, look at you! Beautiful child, just like Gina said! Come here!" She gathered Sophie into a gentle, motherly embrace, her voice soft but full of delight. Sophie let herself melt into it, her arms circling the older woman's back, surprised how quickly the hug eased the nerves fluttering in her stomach. Pulling back, Gina's mother cupped Sophie's cheeks like she'd known her forever. "My daughter told me how kind you are, how you stand by her like a sister. And this phone you gave me, it is my window to her. Thank you, my child," blinking away a hint of tears as she held the older woman's warm hands between her own. Just behind them, Gina slipped into view, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her eyes bright as they met Sophie's. In 2 quick steps, she crossed the room, wrapping Sophie up in another tight hug, half laughing, half crying. "Where have you been hiding? We needed this night long ago." "And you needed rest, Gina," Sophie teased softly into her hair. "But I'm here now." When they pulled apart, Gina turned, pulling Sophie gently by the hand. Come meet my father properly. He waited for you." Near the far window, Mr. Dong-hyun sat in his wheelchair, a blanket draped neatly over his knees, eyes kind but glistening with quiet emotion. Sophie lowered herself gracefully to her knees in front of him, her hands folded gently atop his resting palm. "Appa," Gina's voice cracked sweetly, "this is Sophie, the one I always talk about." Mr. Dong-hyun's lips trembled in a silent attempt at a smile. A single tear traced down the weathered lines of his cheek. Without thinking, Sophie reached up and brushed it away with her thumb, her own eyes soft and glistening. Dinner in the villa's bright kitchen stretched longer than anyone expected. Laughter rose and fell around the oval table. Gina's mother fussed about pouring tea. Sophie brushed rice grains from Gina's sleeve with a soft laugh, and Mr. Dong-hyun dozed contentedly by the window, the gentle rumble of family warmth keeping him at peace. Between the happy noise, Jumong caught Elias's eye from across the table, a flicker of a look, a silent message they'd traded countless times. Elias nodded once, subtle, and leaned back with an easy grin. "Ah, Jumong, do you want me to pull up the export numbers we talked about? Mira flagged something in the last batch of contracts." Jumong, playing along, tapped his chopsticks on his bowl lightly. "Yes, good idea. It won't take long." Sophie glanced up from Gina's mother's chatter, brows lifting. "Just a moment, my love. Eat. I'll be right back." Gina raised an eyebrow at Elias, who only winked at her with that teasing ease that always unraveled her composure. Down the quiet back corridor, behind a small utility door hidden near the laundry cabinets, a biometric lock hummed quietly under Jumong's thumb. The door clicked open with a hiss. Elias slipped in behind him, letting the faint rumble of laughter from the family fade as the heavy door sealed shut again. They descended the narrow steps into the hidden basement, a space no blueprint of the villa would ever show. Smooth concrete, low ceiling, walls lined with polished black screens, flickering with live data streams. At the heart of it all, Mira sat perched on her high stool, headset crooked over one ear, tapping her stylus against a glowing tablet. She didn't bother turning when they entered, her voice crisp as she tracked the latest feed. "You're late. She's moving faster than expected. Madam Lee bribed a second editor at that tabloid. Same headline, Sophie's scandal with her old professor. I broke the first server, but she shifted funding to 2 new channels, harder to infiltrate because they're local print. No central backup." Jumong crossed to her side, eyes scanning the jagged lines of code spilling down the main monitor. "How long until they go to press?" Mira shot a glance up, no fear in her eyes, only the thrill of battle. Just as Jumong brushed past the monitoring desk to grab his jacket, Mira's main feed flickered with an unexpected live ping. Red text streaked across the lower corner. Elias paused halfway to the door, eyebrows knitting together. Mira whipped her headset back on, tapping the screen to amplify the feed. A scrambled voice crackled first, then the line cleared. "Madam, your usual lines are too loud. They jammed your newsrooms. The boys' people are good, your phones are compromised." Madam Lee's voice answered, low but sharp. "And tell me what to do. I want it out tonight." The man's chuckle, faint but snake-like. "Forget the papers. Too slow, too easy to block. Push it on the streets, social feeds, every gossip blog, every rumor page. They can't fence that wildfire." A faint thud, Madam Lee snapping her fan closed. "Do it. By dawn I want her name in the gutter." The line went dead. Mira's fingers flew over her keyboard, trying to latch onto the burner signal, but the trace blinked out just as fast as it flared. Silence pressed heavy in the concrete room. Jumong stood near the far wall, coat draped over one arm, eyes locked on the frozen waveform on the monitor. He said nothing for a breath, then turned, voice quiet but steel beneath. "Mira, assemble every ghost account we own. Ready a cleanup sweep for tomorrow." Mira's shoulders squared, the old spark in her grin. He slid his watch tight over his wrist again, the quiet threat in his voice unmistakable. "She wants dawn? Let her have it. I'll decide what survives sunrise." When he slipped back upstairs to Sophie, laughter still drifted faint from the kitchen. Gina's mother fussed over late-night tea. Sophie caught Jumong's hand in the hallway, smiling at him like nothing in the world could bruise her peace tonight. And he kissed her forehead gently, eyes closing for a single heartbeat, knowing the war outside these walls would claw at that peace by morning. But tonight he would let her sleep. Elias's jaw flexed. He muttered under his breath, almost too softly for Mira to catch. "She's right. Jumong's busy securing the family, playing calm. He'll protect Sophie publicly, but this is filth that sticks even when it's a lie." He pushed himself upright, pacing a tight circle in the cramped floor space behind her chair. The monitors blinked, showing snippets of drafts waiting to be posted. University lover? The secret past of Sophie Nam? Headlines framed in cheap scandal fonts, already racking up invisible clicks that hadn't even happened yet. Mira spun in her chair, eyes sharp on him. "You have an idea, don't you?" Elias stopped pacing. He dropped his hands to the back of her chair, leaning down so his forehead nearly touched hers. "Hey, Jin." Mira's brow lifted, but only slightly. "Hey, Jin? Jumong's sister? The lawyer?" "Hey, Jin, yes. But not just the sister. She's the weak link. You know as well as I do, Mira. She's covered in pretty silk and false loyalty. But she's playing for herself. Madam Lee's pressure to ruin Sophie has Heijin's fingerprints all over it. And I guarantee you, she has dirty secrets she'd hate to see come out." Mira's mouth tugged into a thin line, half grim, half amused. "You want me to poke through her phone? I want you," Elias said, voice low and deliberate, "to break that fortress she calls privacy. We find anything she's hidden. Dodgy clients, under-the-table settlements, falsified evidence, anything. We squeeze her right back. No hit piece, no scandal. We put Madam Lee in checkmate with her own daughter's secrets. For a heartbeat, the humming tech filled the room as Mira weighed him with her calculating stare. Then she gave one sharp nod, spun back to her screens, and cracked her knuckles. 10 minutes. I'll get you her phone's root key from the firm's admin server. She's sloppy. Still logs her calls when she's on home Wi-Fi. Elias grabbed the spare headset hanging from the server rack and slipped it on. His voice steadied into its old rhythm, the tone he'd used back in Seoul when he still led covert field teams, before corporate loyalty disguised itself as family dinners. Do it fast, Mira. And when we have enough, we don't wait for Jumong's blessing. We hit her straight in her pride. She takes it to her mother. Madam Lee gets the message loud and clear. One more word about Sophie, and Hae-jin's pretty career ends in handcuffs. Mira's fingers flew over her keyboard, lines of code scrolling faster than his eyes could track. She slid an earbud halfway out, catching his tone under the digital storm. You still trust me with this, going behind Jumong's back? Elias's eyes softened for a fraction, just enough for the truth to slip through. If Jumong knew how dirty this could get, he'd pull the plug. Sophie means more to him than power or revenge. But to protect her properly, sometimes the clean hands stay clean because ours get dirty, Mira. Mira's lips curved, a quick edge of dark loyalty in her grin. Poetic, Elias. Now hush, she's online. A new window bloomed on the main screen. Hae-jin's phone, green message bubbles, recent calls to her mother, last-minute edits on a big contract dispute her law firm handled discreetly for a corporate giant notorious for bribery. Mira pointed. This enough? Elias's smile was humorless. More than enough. Package it. She zipped the data into a single unmarked file and toggled the custom encryption Elias had written himself back in the days when he didn't have a tie and an office title. Within moments, the phone in Elias's palm buzzed. The blackmail text was short, clean, brutal. Hae-jin, your shady files live in our vault now. One more whisper about Sophie, and your law license burns. Show your mother. No scandal or you're the scandal. Elias's thumb hovered over send. He caught Mira's eyes one last time. No fear, no regret, only purpose. Do it, Mira said. He pressed send,